Hi, Larry. Shall we start now? Okay. So can everyone see my screen? Okay. So now let's begin. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Today we'll be walking through the SmartCompare project demo. We'll start with the DevOps side, followed by the dev side. Let's be here. Kicking things off with the DevOps part. Today, we'll walk you through the DevOps outcomes for our SmartCompare project. Here's a quick overview of today's presentation. We'll start with the CI/CD pipeline, then move on to the architecture design, followed by our Terraform structure. After that, we'll briefly cover our cost optimization strategy, summarize the overall impact, and finally go through our production readiness and further enhancements. Let's start with our CI/CD pipeline. The pipeline is designed to automate the full deployment process from code to cloud. First, we run build and test for our .NET services to ensure code quality. Then we build Docker images and push them to Azure Container Registry. After that, we use Terraform to deploy the application layer, mainly L2 resources. We also support environment-based deployment, so we can deploy separate to dev and prod. For the lower layers like L0 and L1, we keep them as manual step to avoid unnecessary changes to stable infrastructure. Overall, this pipeline helps us achieve consistent and repeatable deployments. And this also reduces manual errors and improves team efficiency. This is our overall Azure architecture. We designed it to be scalable, secure, and environment isolated. Traffic comes through DNS and Azure Front Door, which provides CDN and web capabilities. Inside the virtual network, we separate public and private subnets. All application services run inside a container apps environment in the private subnet. For outbound traffic, we use a NAT gateway to ensure controlled internet access. On the dataset, we use AeroSQL database, blob storage, and key vault, all secured via private or service endpoints. We also use managed identity for secure access between services, avoiding hard-coded credentials. Finally, monitoring is handled by application insights and log analytics, giving us full visibility into system behavior. So overall, the architecture focuses on security, isolation, and scalability. Next, this is how we structure our Terraform code. We organize everything into a layered structure, L0, L1, and L2. L0 contains core infrastructure like networking and container registry. L1 includes shared services such as identity monitoring and databases. L2 is where we deploy application-specific resources. We also use reusable modules to standardize our infrastructure components. In addition, we separate environment configurations using TF-vars files for dev and prod. This structure makes our infrastructure easier to manage, reuse, and scale. L0 provides the foundation, mainly networking and core infrastructure. These are stable resources and rarely change. L1 focuses on shared services like identity, security monitoring, and storage. These services are used by all applications. L2 is the application layer where we deploy workloads like container apps. This layer is more dynamic and can be updated frequently. This layers design allows us to separate concerns and manage resources more efficiently. Now let's talk about cost optimization. One key strategy is our layered infrastructure design. Since L0 is stable and L2 is more dynamic, we can selectively deploy or destroy resources when needed. For example, in dev environment, we can clear up L2 resources to reduce unnecessary costs. We also separate environments like dev and prod, which helps us avoid running production level resources in non-production environments. Overall, this approach helps us control cloud costs while maintaining flexibility. So overall, this setup brings several key benefits. We achieve a scalable architecture that can grow with the system. Deployment efficiency is significantly improved through automation. We reduce cloud costs through better resource management. And most importantly, the system is secure and well isolated across environments. These improvements make the platform more reliable and production ready. Finally, I'll briefly highlight some production readiness improvements. We plan to extend our CI/CD pipelines to support the production environment. Currently, the pipeline is primarily implemented for the dev environment. We also aim to fully integrate both infrastructure and application deployment into the pipeline to improve automation and reduce manual intervention. In addition, we will enhance testing and validation to make the deployment process more reliable. That's all for today. Thanks everyone for listening. Happy to take any questions. So any questions? Okay, let's move on to the dev side. So Paul, over to you.
Yeah, so I'll just be providing a overview of the application. So in this case, it will be a demo of the website and its core feature.
Have you shared your screen? I cannot see your screen.
Yeah, I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
So to begin, what we are creating, so essentially, what is SmartCompare? So SmartCompare is a full-stack SaaS platform that allows contractors to create projects, generate professional quotes, and manage client billing. So our goal is to utilize the OCR technology and translate a project and a contractor's quote like this in these pictures into a PDF form. That's something that the client can review and also inspect. So we have our website readily on the net here. So you guys can actually access this website as well if you search it on Edge, smartcompare.net, thanks to the deployment by the DevOps team. And then for the authentication side, we utilize Auth0. So when I click sign in, we'll be redirected to the Auth0 site where we can continue with various SEO options like Google, Apple, and Microsoft. So in this case, I'll just go forward with Google. And the JWT is given back from the Auth0 side to the front end. And using this mitigates a lot of the risks that comes with creating our own in-house JWT policies. And then talking about the plans, we use Stripe for our pricing options in SmartCompare. So Stripe is also a service that redirects once we click on a subscription for a purchase. So in this case, my account already has a subscription, so I won't click it again. I'll just go back to the quote builder. So first, what we can do is, as a constructor, we can utilize the option to create a project. So in this case, I'll just call my project the demo project and give it a brief address. So this address is used for the constructor as like the reference of what they think the address is. In this case, I'll just do and then they can pick various property details and give some key attributes to the property, and then select the relevant subcontractor type that is fetched from our backend. And then so we can then create a quote based on the project that we have filed. In this case, we'll use the documents that I've shown before and essentially demo the capabilities of our OCR service. And we can put up to 5 images into this upload, and then we can continue the analysis. So this analysis workflow is done by Baidu and then reaffirmed by GPT. So what Baidu does is it reads off the handwriting and then it feeds it to the GPT LLM, and GPT LLM puts it in the categories that we provide. So in this case, we have stuff like scope of work and exclusions. Those things have been written on the contractor's notes. And these notes can be transferred into our form as shown here. And then we can match it to our relevant project. So in this case, I'll use the project that I just created, give it both a brief quote number, and then add some information for the company. And then we can also add an ABN. And then we can also add the contacts as well as the payments. And after this process is done, we can then fill in a value for the quote totals and add a arbitrary number of GST and continue to our preview. In this case, we have the preview template, and it's in a PDF form that's served on the front end. And this is already what the end result is looking like. So all of the stuff that has been scanned by the OCR is now fed into this, and this can then be sent to a client, and they can verify and they can check whether they like the plan or not, or whether they have any questions towards the price of individual pieces written by the contractor. And then we'll just press generate quote. And then our quote is generated successfully in this template. So in this case, we allow download, email, and print. And then, yeah, so as you can see, the quote has been successfully downloaded. And that's the demonstration of our core feature. And then, so after demonstrating this, does anyone have any questions? So if not, the future plans of this project is just to, I guess, fix some of the technical debt that exists. So create a better dashboards, and then maybe allow the contractor to continue with more different types of work. And then, yeah, that's basically it on the dev side.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Thanks, everyone, for joining. So that concludes our demo. Goodbye, everyone.